There's an aspect of storm chasing that I haven't done a very good job of portraying in my prior videos. Busting. When you go out and spend your day or multiple days storm chasing and come up with absolutely nothing to show for it.
Our storms are really struggling.
Now, different people define busting differently, but my specific definition is whether or not I get in position on a photogenic storm.
Holy cow!
I don't need a tornado, I just need something photogenic. Busting sucks, but when you strike out multiple days in a row, it really starts to sting. Today I'm going to be going through a 3-day stretch in late May where I screwed up every single day. Day 1 was in northeast Colorado and southwest Nebraska. The setup looked really strong, and the SPC even put out a 5% risk for tornadoes across the area. I spent my day in Sidney, Nebraska waiting out storms. Alright, it is May 21st, and I've just been hanging around town here in Sidney, editing photos, cleaning gear, and just getting ready because today could be a big day. Some of the models are showing some discrete supercells near sunset. And it wasn't long before we had our first storms forming just to our south. Everything looked like it was going to be a big day for storms, with the first storms getting severe warned pretty much out of the gate, and I was in perfect position for them. But the storms failed to mature any further from their initial stages, quickly moving off to the north into an area of stable air before dying out. I spent the next several hours chasing my tail back and forth, trying to position myself on storms that would ultimately not do anything interesting. I did this until about sunset when some new storms did form, but produced no structure or anything really worth pulling out the camera for.
Alright, so we're getting close to sunset here. Our storms are really struggling.
And just like that, this high potential day was ending, and all I had to show for it was some rain. All this while there were some raging supercells a couple hours to my south, too far to be able to reach. I could shake off this bust pretty easily knowing that the next day and the day after that showed even more promise in the models. Alright, it is May 22nd, and I'm sitting in Akron, Colorado. It's just before 1 p.m. But I think today's going to be a good day. We've been burned a couple days in a row. 20th was all right. We got some structure. Yesterday was just a complete bust out by Sidney, Nebraska. And today I think it's going to be better. The SPC had again outlined a slight risk with a 5% chance of tornadoes, as well as a mention of very large hail. And with expectations high again, I started to see towers going up just to my southwest. I thought I'd position on one that looked like it had a nice wall cloud already. At this point in the day, it was still very early, so I was more playing for the long term than short, which meant I was further from the storm than I'd like to be if it were to produce a tornado. But being so early in its life, I didn't have to worry about it with this storm. Or so I thought.
Actually, we might have a tornado in progress right now. There's circular dust underneath the base, I'm not sure. But basically, it's rotating really well on radar. Possible tornado south of Brush, Colorado at 1:23 p.m.
And just like that, I was over 5 miles away from a very photogenic tornado, scrambling to get up close to it before it dissipated. But sure enough, it didn't last long, and a couple minutes after it roped out, and I didn't have much to show for it besides this shaky video. Once the tornado had lifted, I was able to get in perfect position on the storm, anticipating that it would continue to produce photogenic tornadoes, but it didn't. A couple short-lived needle funnels with dust swirls were all I was able to get on this storm, before it was undercut by the cold front and completely died.
Well, that certainly de-escalated quickly. Basically, that storm lifted north of a stationary front and the base just completely evaporated. It's amazing how fast these storms are moving.
I decided to head northeast to another storm that was forming near the front, hoping it would be the next storm of the day. And after spending an hour and a half driving northeast just to get to this storm in time to watch it gust out, I noticed that there were some supercells just to the south of my original storm that had begun forming, and they ended up putting down several photogenic tornadoes that I was hours away from seeing. Even though I knew I'd be late to those tornadoes, I did head down to these storms in time to see them gust out, just like the storms earlier in the day. For a day that I started by seeing a tornado, I ended up playing this day very poorly and was just out of position the entirety of the chase. It was a gut punch to say the least, but Colorado had one last day up its sleeve for me to redeem myself.
May 23rd, we are in Lyman today, and today could be a huge day for tornadoes. So the SBC has outlined, just upgraded to a 10% chance of a tornado within 25 miles of any point, pretty much most of northeast Colorado. So I am starting in Lyman. Storms are going up down by Pueblo already, and they're going to be here in no time. We are north of Lyman, Colorado. It's 1:34 p.m. The storm looks like it's trying to get its act together, but it's a beast of a storm with some big hail.
And the storm did quickly get its act together, producing several very low wall clouds that could have been producing a tornado, but with gaps in the road network and nothing under it, there'd be no way of knowing if it actually touched down. Now, how this thing didn't produce a huge tornado here, I have no idea, but it continued to try over and over before I decided to bail on this storm to position for new storms going up to the south that I thought would be much more photogenic and pose a better tornado risk. And just 15 minutes after giving up my position on the original storm, it ended up producing a tornado close to where I had been. The new storms did develop where I expected, and they had lots of rotation on them, but none of them could really get their act together in order to become the dominant storm. I ended up watching these scud clouds at sunset, overall very disappointed with the day and the 2 days prior. Storm chasing is always a grind and a roller coaster, and you never know what day you're going to miss something big. But this was hard. After underperforming 3 days in a row, I was pretty close to heading home out of sheer exhaustion. But the next day did look interesting in Kansas.